I used to think I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And it was all about self-centeredness. It wasn't really about that. It was just about trying to let my parents know this is how you're making me feel. But I've been told not to tell people how I feel. So my best ideas at maybe 10-year-old was to maybe hang myself, and then they'll come in and they'll see me. I didn't want to die. I just wanted to let them know. I just wanted to let them know, look is how yous are making me feel.
Yeah.
But I know that was nothing to do with him. That was all about self-centeredness and about me trying to control them. Do you know what I mean? But so thank God drugs came along, because they thought it started going, and it was like, just look for the stuff that's going to give you comfort and ease to deal with the trauma, the pain. Do you know what I mean? And it was normal for everybody around about me was doing it. Do you know what I mean? Most people where I stayed.
Like, it sounds like they didn't, obviously, like I said, the lack of love, but was there anything with your parents that they actually did support you in and did give you any sort of hope or encouragement?
Well, my mum and dad ended up coming to the 12-step programme later on in my life, and that's how I got. So they get help. My mum's a Christian, and that's how they changed their life. And as an example of them, that's how I became. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So was it you that first went to AA and then they come?
No, they went. So they get help because they were only young. So by the time they get help, because my mum didn't drink, she became a Christian. My dad was alcoholic, but by the time he get help, I was so messed in drugs. You know what I mean? He was getting better, and I was already sick. So he's changed his life, and he's trying to deal with, with me.
And was there a big difference in him trying to just be a better person?
He didn't know how to, but I found out a lot of stuff about my own father, because I used to think how if I had a son like me, I would have treated, because my son, I constantly tell him I love him, and we're close and we're tight and all that, but he's never told me I love him, and I never told him. He's never put his hands on me, and because we'd never shot. Do you know what I mean? We were never taught that way. And if I would get into the house, even as a child, when I grew up as an adult, I was still full of resentment with that man, because he used to bully me and beat me up, and nobody knew. My dad could control me. So I could come in a house and my dad was there and 6 other people was there. So if I wanted to do something and you asked me, I would need to look over to my dad, and my dad would give it the nod. And it was like Morse code. He could control me with facial expressions. And there weren't any of that AHDD and do what you want. It was just absolutely terrified. His face says jump. You didn't to ask how high, you just started jumping.
What was his parents like?
Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. He had a worse life than me.
Okay.
He was brought up in another part in East End, and he's got like 8 brothers or something like that, and 4 sisters. And he was the 3rd eldest. And his father got murdered in front of him with his best friend. Up the stairs on Christmas Day. So he was left to take care of all the young. So and they were all worse than me with the trauma and the poverty, because it's like years before it. Eddie Murphy is like what I was talking to you about earlier.
Yes.
A young boy who grew up in the East End of Glasgow, in poverty, lots of violence, and the East End, it was a place called Easterhouse, and it was a murder capital of Europe.
Okay.
So there were a lot of gang warfare and gang, knives and different things, of violence and neighbours killing neighbours and, fighting over different things. So it was normal. Not you come out of that, we just thought everybody had that kind of a issue. But as a little boy, I can always remember feeling frightened, but not allowed to show that I was frightened. I was told as a young child, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. And what happens in this house stays in this house. So all that stuff that I had to, as a wee boy, the pressure that I had on me when people would ask me, how are you? So when they offered you a draw of marijuana or a stip of the Tipex thinner, it just took all the feelings away. So I'd found a new escape again. So the Tipex thinner and the marijuana was another thing where I'm thinking, what's this? A bit of comfort and ease. Grew up in a house, poverty, didn't have much. Nobody had much. Sometimes we would have no electricity. My dad would be stealing electricity off the street using the street lights. And you had to go down the stair and ask. I always remember always having to ask the neighbours for. My mum says if you get a wee bowl of sugar or some milk, and she'll give you it back on Tuesday. And I could, even back then, I could see how my wee mind would go. I would go to school and see come the Tuesday, I would go around the back way because I'd be doing all my friends thinking and that family's thinking, saying, my mum's not paid that milk back. And the shame I would feel. So I would have all this, a wee boy with all that pressure and all that fear. And probably my mum's met that woman and spoke to her and she's got that. But my wee mind where I was told not to share nothing. And to be quiet. So everything was all compressed down. So the substance was becoming like to deal with I'm going to be all right. And thank God for the substance. I always say to myself, thank God for them because they were an escape for me. You know, I think I might, because what was happening to me as young, my parents noticed things in me. And I don't really share this a lot, but as a child, when I used to get disciplined and battered from my father, I used to go into the room. My dad would hit us with belts. Yeah. But I would hide all the belts. Oh, yeah. Because he'd have them here and have them there because I knew that what's next with him, you know. And so when I tied the belts in my room, but he'd have loads of them. So after the bet you with the belts, you'd have it on. So you'd had to get into class and you'd have big belt marks. And
what's some of the reasons that you used to belt you for?
Sniffing glue, maybe.
Oh, really?
Sniffing glue.
What age was that?
Maybe 8 or 9. You know what I mean? Sniffing glue and maybe staying out and you're not meant to or no coming back. And then my dad actually, I was like, I don't know if I spoke about it. The first ever drug I took was that. Before that was
no, on here. You haven't mentioned it.
Well, the first ever drug I ever took was I was saying earlier on was Benylin. Yeah, and that was my mother that gave me that. And she didn't give me it to get me stoned. My dad was alcoholic, and my dad was one of these mad persons that was into football and violence. So you could hear him coming along the street first. It'd be hell. So my mum didn't drink. Yeah. And so she was stuck at 17 or 18 with 2 veins in the house. So the first thing she would do was give us a couple of spoonfuls of Benylin to try and make us sleep, to protect us from what was going to happen, because there were always violence and, you know. So when she gave me that, I just felt something like the Ready Brek kid. I'd found something. So that's what I chased.
How long was you having that? How long was she giving you that for?
Well, I was taking it myself. Okay, so
she
was only giving me that.
She gives you the taster.
She gave me the taster, and I would go looking for it, and I'd be go like that, and I would drink it, and I could feel the warmth, the comfort, the love, the ease, the ease that I just wanted. Yeah. You know, it was like, I knew it was trauma pain. It was dealing with the trauma. So that was something that I chased all through my life. That was the first bit of comfort, because I'd never cuddled or been told by my parents that they loved me and I loved them. You know, the only time they'd touch me was when they were violent.